What's going on, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock here. We've got ourselves 5 games to be able to break down for you before you get to your NFL main course. I know what day it is. You know what day it is. But let's talk a little seam first. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as we start up. Goes a long way for us here on the Stokastic YouTube channel, which, again, we've had MLB going all summer long, and now we get ourselves into the NFL streets. That'll be coming up with Greg and Laffy right after this program, I believe 7:15 Eastern time, 4:15 on the West Coast. But I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist over on X. And I'm joined by my good friend, Matt Bellman. He is at Fantasy Tips Matt. He's out there in Ohio living the life. How you doing, my dude?
I am good, man. Happy to be out here talking some baseball with you. We have a fun, interesting mini slate tonight. It's 4-gamer. Only one game at 6:40, but then the rest of the games lock at 7:40. So little sprint slate before football, during football, however you want to look at it. Should be a fun night leading us into a weekend full of sports. So excited about it.
That was weird. I hit live and it says we've been live for over a minute. It just went live on YouTube. So I don't know if everybody heard me here on the onset, but hello. Hi, MLB Live Before Lock. We're rocking. I'm Eric. He's Matt. We're just saying hi, and obviously we know what day it is. It's NFL Live Before Lock coming up. Greg, Laffy, after this, that is going to be 7:15 Eastern time, 4:15 Pacific. Looking forward to them breaking down the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys. That'll be great. But first, 5 baseball games that we got covered. We got Paul Skenes on the mound. That's going to be very, very fascinating. We've also got some different options for stacks. We've got some interesting batters. The Sims are doing some interesting things today. Matt, anything you want to discuss here before we dive in? We got, 37 minutes to break down this slate?
Yeah, not really. It looks like a pretty typical small slate with, a few good pitchers and a couple stacks that look good. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything really out of the ordinary with this one. It's just a matter of kind of where you want to plant your flag.
Yeah, we've got some love coming in here as well. Thanks, fellas, for the show. Knowing NFL is starting, appreciate you. We appreciate you as well. But Matt and I love baseball. Matt is playing in the biggest tournaments on DraftKings. I'm playing in the large field on DraftKings, as well as like a couple of single entries, the 12, a couple of the other ones that I'm looking at here that are going to be a nice precursor before, obviously, I look at all my lineups. I'm overwhelmed, but that is all right because we've got ourselves 50,000 simulations potentially up for grabs for you in the Stokastic Sims. And that leads me into this, friends. An amazing opportunity for you right now. NFL Core Weekly using code OPENER. You go to code OPENER. You go to the video description box below. You sign up for the link for just $1. NFL Core Weekly can be yours. And it is unbelievable some of the stuff that has been updated for the single lineup simulator, for the number of simulations in general, the 50,000 I talked about. It's incredible. But let's say you want to upgrade that a little bit further. We've got another option for you. Get 30% off a monthly package. Now, this deal, the $1, that is going to renew for you on Saturday. That is for the Thursday and Friday showdown slate. So if you want to get a little taste and see what's up for grabs in the showdown streets, use code OPENER. But if you've used our Sims before, you know what they're capable of. If you've used our projections, ownership projections over the years, you know how strong they are. Use code FOOTBALL and get yourself a nice value of 30% off any monthly package. But the big whopper right here, Whopper, Junior Whopper. Code BIRD, friends. Get 10% off the yearly or all access package. So 3 great opportunities to sign in. Check it out over at Stokastic. Oh, I cannot believe that football is here. It feels so, so good. But let's start diving in. Let's talk about this slate. And we begin with pitching, where obviously there's Paul Skenes. And anytime you get Paul Skenes on a slate, we have to have the discussion about, we all know how good he is, but he's expensive. He's generally been hard capped. He never really gets yourself up to the tippy top range of his pitches. And that kind of creates this interesting deal that we have to work through. And it doesn't matter. 81.3% of my top 150 in the Sims today, Matt, they're showing up with Paul Skenes at 10-5. Are you on board with him in large field, small field tournaments today?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's like you have to play him because there are other good pitching options, but he's the best pitcher on the slate. And despite the obviously very tough matchup against the Dodgers, he's a top 3 pitcher in baseball. So, every hitter he faces outside of, maybe Shohei, Freeman, probably even, he has the advantage because he's that good. So, again, he's expensive, not in a good matchup. So, I don't think he's a must play, but I do think he's the best pitcher on the slate. The ownership is warranted. Sims like him a lot for good reason. Yeah, he looks really, really good here. I don't have like a strong take on I think you need to play 100% of him, or I think you need to fade him. I think he's a really, really strong play.
Hope everything is all right with you, Ronald. Obviously, don't like hearing that you're in the hospital, but thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, we can bring a little smile to your day. Hopefully, we can help you make some money while you're at it too. Hospitals confirmed not cheap. So hopefully, everything is all right with you. It's not too serious, but let's get ourselves going here. And that is where we go to Paul Skenes, to Blake Snell on the other side of this one, where it's the better matchup by a landslide going to, this is just kind of the craziness of this slate to some extent, is like you have two very obvious chalk options. And then we have to find something else if we want to get different. But are we just going to be giving up the entire game environment? And the Sims, they have one batter in particular from this game that they're not passing up, showing up in some lineups alongside it for what it's worth. But I want to ask you about Blake Snell because he's got the Pittsburgh Pirates on the other side. I think we already know how many strikeouts are available to you. They strike out at the second highest clip in baseball against left-handed pitching at 25.6% K rate. But I think the best feature for Blake Snell, 74 WRC plus, the lowest in baseball. They have individual bats that can work out for you, but boy, is this a good spot to invest in Blake Snell. I think FanDuel will be able to talk a little bit about the nuance of how to kind of build out your lineups with just those two pitchers. But Blake Snell, are we just eating the chalk at the top of pitching today?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean,
what do you want to say?
Right. I'll say this. I do think that Pepio and Bradley have places on this slate. They are good. Well, Pepio's a good pitcher. Bradley has upside, and they're a lot cheaper at lower ownership. So they have places on this slate. I think you can play them. Certainly, if you're playing a lot of lineups, you're going to get some of them plus the other guys. Even if you're playing 3-entry max, I think you can get off of one of Skenes or Snell. But I do think that those two project as pretty clearly the top two guys by 5-6 points. So you're giving up a lot in projection, hoping the slate kind of plays out differently, which it's MLB, can certainly happen. But I think in any one lineup, you want to get to Skenes and Snell.
Yeah, what you brought up is kind of the point. We've got Skenes at 20 and change. We've got 19 and change for Blake Snell. And then it just drops off a cliff. I will say this about Blake Snell. He's got pretty ridiculous splits when it comes down to the strikeout rate. He's got just a 21.6% K rate against righties this season. So you roll out a lineup like Pittsburgh does today, and you look at it, doesn't have a single lefty in it. That is a big deal to some extent as far as what his strikeout expectation is going to be. Now, some of these guys strike out more than the average bear. I brought it up before. They have the highest, second highest K rate, lowest WRC plus. So it's obviously an amazing spot. But if I'm trying to play devil's advocate to some extent, Paul Skenes, very obviously difficult matchup, 10-5 pitch count. Blake Snell, not striking out righties. That's the one thing that I can basically say. But we only have so many options on the slate too. So it's kind of this push and pull of how you go about it. How many lineups are you playing today? And this leads me into the next thing because I kind of want to open up the board. Who's the player or who's the pitcher that you have the most confidence in rostering that isn't named Paul Skenes and Blake Snell?
Definitely Pepio. And it's a really good spot for him. Cleveland stinks against right-handed pitching, and Pepio has been elite against lefties at home this year. So under the radar, really, really good spot for Pepio. I know the tools don't love him and he doesn't project that well, so the Sims aren't going to like him. But when you dive deeper into the numbers, he's in a really good spot here. So I think he's going, I don't want to say under-owned because I think that Snell and Skenes are the clear top two options, but he's the third guy for me. Like, not even a question. I like him more than everyone else.
Interesting. We do have one expensive pitcher that is Carlos Rodon, and I'm not going to say that I like Carlos Rodon today because it's a very difficult lineup when you get Yordan Alvarez, even left on left, back in it for him. When you have, just righty after righty, kind of similar to what I was talking about with Pittsburgh here, but like most of them are functional or flat out good the way that, Jeremy Pena, he's been slower of late, but, goes yard yesterday, has great numbers on the season, 287 expected batting average, higher actual batting average, 352 xWOBA. Alvarez, 404 xWOBA on the season, despite quote unquote struggles. He basically just hurt and hasn't been by way of the long ball as much. So there's effectiveness there, but I think the next best pitcher on the slate, I just look at Carlos Rodon as somebody that, he's our most negatively leveraged pitcher in the Sims, but he's still the guy pulling the fourth most ownership. And we'll get into the Taj Bradley thing here in a second, but like, there's a part of me in single entry that wants to just try to make Rodon and Snell a thing and hope the Dodgers do enough against Paul Skenes, which isn't asking for a ton. It's the Dodgers, but I don't know. It's just one of those spots where it's very difficult for me to justify anything, but that's the way it is for the entire field as well, Matt.
Yeah, I just like Skenes, Snell, and then Pepio enough to, I don't want to play Rodon here. Like, I like Rodon as a pitcher. Certainly he's a better pitcher than Pepio. Higher strikeout upside, a better DFS pitcher than Pepio, no doubt about that, but he's $1,700 more expensive in the significantly worse spot. Also got winds blowing in and a pitcher's umpire for Pepio in Tampa here. Like, I'm not playing him because of that, but certainly another feather in his cap, if you will. Completely out on Rodon. If I were playing 150, I'd have some, but that's about it.
I like how Duke decided to go directly in camera. You probably can't see it in the small box there, but guy's just on a mission today to try to make my life difficult. He's just out here crying that I'm not paying more attention to him because now NFL's back and daddy means business, trying to get that kibble for you, son. Like, that's really what it comes down to. But yeah, I totally see what you're saying with Pepio as well. And I think Ryan Pepio is definitely serviceable, but let's get into the Taj Bradley thing first before I talk about the Ryan Pepio. Well, I guess we could bring this up just for a quick second. Ryan Pepio confirmed reverse splits. I mean, this is just nuts. 28.3% K rate against lefties, 21% against righties, giving up more power 2-on-1 expected ISO to righties. It's kind of one of those weird spots where it's hard to pull the trigger when you're a manager and just say, hey, we're going to just roll out righties against this guy. But we'll say that's just not what they did. Stephen Kwan, Daniel Schneemann, Kyle Manzardo, Bo Naylor, Nolan Jones. There are so many lefties that I do think this is a very good spot for strikeouts for Ryan Pepio.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really freaking good against lefties at home this year. Lefties in general. Cleveland not good against right-handed pitching at all. And, like, they're running out 8 lefties tonight. So do with that what you will. Wind blowing in a little bit. That really affects this ballpark, too. Again, still a premier hitter's park, but not as elite as when you get the wind blowing out during the day. So I'm on Pepio here. I think he's cheap enough and low owned enough where you can make a serious case for liking him over one of the top 2 guys in any given lineup. Certainly you're giving up projection there, but I think he's projected too low, and you're also getting bats that you wouldn't be able to get with the top 2 guys. So, like, I think that Pepio is the clear number 3 for me. And then, like, I know you've kind of straddled talking about him. I think Taj Bradley's number 4.
The weather's a little concerning to some extent. We're
very concerning
a little bit. There's going to be some kind of concern that you're going to have about it here. And if Taj Bradley's going to be the pivot for everybody off of Skenes and Snell, I'm all right saying nah to some extent. Like, he looked much better last time out because it couldn't have been much worse for him starting off going, 9 hits, just getting obliterated by these very White Sox in Chicago last time out. But then goes into Minnesota, and you can't talk about home road splits with a Taj Bradley because, well, he's had 1 start home, 1 start road in a Twins uniform. But man, he looked much better against San Diego there. Gave up all of one hit. Still doesn't really matter because they put up 12 after he left the game, which is just insanity. But Taj Bradley's still one of those guys who has arm talent. The stuff plus is always going to pop to some extent. But like, what are we going to do here if we have weather concerns and he ends up being the third most popular pitcher like we currently have projected? I'm kind of all right hitting eject to some extent, Matt.
Totally. I mean, I'm with that for sure. For me, the weather concerns more than anything. I don't think the ownership's really going to be there, like concerning level in smaller field stuff, because I think just people are going to jam Skenes and Snell. So, like the ownership thing, like he might be the fourth highest owned pitcher, and he might get 20% ownership. But on this slate, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. But the weather, with that, given that he's such an inherent risk every time he toes the rubber, I'm with you. Like, I don't know. I just don't necessarily think you need the savings here. He is too cheap for a strikeout upside. He's a tough nut to crack, man. Like, he's gotten absolutely shelled in 2 out of the past 3 starts. Both those against the White Sox. 3 starts ago was his last start with the Rays. Got destroyed as the chalky play that night. First start with the Twins, basically the same exact thing happened. Got just shelled by the White Sox. Then, of course, he pitches well against the Padres. He's one of these classic guys that the matchup, certainly it matters to some extent, but he's kind of like fighting his own demons out there on the hill. And if he's got it that night, he can get by anyone. And if he has his best stuff tonight, that $6,500 price tag is going to seem way too cheap. But we're not seeing it that often. And I do feel like people are kind of buying in because he had one good start. You know, maybe not. Like, he's still Taj Bradley. So now talking it out, I'm kind of more apt to get off him just because I don't think we need it.
I mean, that's I think the better case is that we don't need it. And why inherit this risk knowing that it's coming up there when you've got Skenes, who I'm pretty sure is going to put you, in the territory of where he's like as a floor, the 14, 15, unless it's like another one of those Milwaukee starts where it's just like, oh, well, there goes that for any lineup you had with Paul Skenes. And then Blake Snell's in just a ridiculous spot, even though the K rate has been lower against righties. These are not your everyday righties. I think he can pitch deeper into this one where he can provide some fantasy value, even if it doesn't have a crazy amount. But then I'm with you too. I think Ryan Pepiot is probably the most appealing guy to maybe take a shot on. Talked about the Carlos Rodon one. That feels like a secure type deal where maybe if I were trying to go ultimate leverage and go to like a Dodgers stack or a Pittsburgh stack, I think I might go that direction. But when I'm thinking about it more.
When you put it like that, it makes Rodon appealing. Because, like, you're talking about using a really, like, the third best pitcher on the slate. Like, maybe the second best over Snell right now.
Well,
I would say second best pitcher on the slate and the best offense on the slate at, like, all low ownership. Like, that's appealing on a small slate, not going to lie.
Well, what's also appealing on a small slate, it's not like these guys are just goobers elsewhere. Christian Javier has a 24% K rate.
Facts.
It's terrifying against the Yankees, but a 5.32 xFIP, that's very different than a 3.83 actual FIP, a 3.33 actual ERA. Like, he's found ways to be successful and can actually provide fantasy value and not really getting any kind of ownership. Ryan Pepiot, we talked about in depth. He's definitely my favorite of somebody to try to pivot to. The Taj Bradley one, sub 20% has more to do with the White Sox matchup, but like, I put it on the screen there a second ago. Gil Torres, the weather concerns me, but my favorite stack would have been the White Sox. I'm not going to get away from stacks. I think the weather has a little bit like pop-up potential where you could end up seeing a pitcher, maybe have an abbreviated start, but I think they're going to get this game in. If they don't, obviously, they're divisional rivals. I think they play one. No, I don't think they do. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I looked at the schedule 2 days ago. I don't think they maybe match up again. I bet there's a little bit of urgency. I mean, baseball's got 3 weeks of runway left for the regular season before we tidy things up and move into full mode playoff time. But the White Sox, I think that they look really nice if Taj Bradley is indeed pulling the third most ownership on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with that for sure. I do think that, like, I'm playing this game, both pitching and hitting, as if it's fine, because I think there'll be a late start and then good to go. I do think if they start the game without a late start, much more concern for the pitchers. If they late start it, there's always the concern of it being postponed. So in that case, if they late start it, I don't really want one-offs. I either want full stacks or I'm out.
That's totally fair. All righty, y'all. I think that does it for pitching. Anything you wanted to talk about? Logan Allen, pass for me, our lowest projected pitcher. Christian Javier, I brought up the strikeout stuff. Noah Cameron, I think, is a really good pitcher, and it's facing the Angels, and yet nobody wants to roster it. I think they're going to probably continue to do some type of limitations to his innings going forward. Not like in extreme way. We're not projecting anything extreme, but like even before he got shelled last time out against the White Sox, 89, 79, 91 pitches. Like, we're not talking about a guy who has the same kind of length, even though he's been a really nice find as a southpaw here for Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm good on Cameron. I thought he was pitching over his head for much of the year. Finally came back down to earth last time out. So I don't love the Angels stack against him. I think he's perfectly fine, but I'm not using him. Like, this Angels team is a lot worse against righties. He's not that good. There are really good pitchers on this slate. The guy I would use is the guy you mentioned, Javier. He was the most popular pitcher on the slate, the last slate he was on, which I think was like a Sunday slate. Can't remember. And he was literally the most popular pitcher. Now, again, that's a matchup price thing, but clearly he's not a scrub. So I'm totally with you there. I would use him over Cameron 10 out of 10 times personally. He's actually my fifth guy. And the more we talk about it, I think there are a ton of reasons to use him over Bradley. And the more I think about it.
All right, let's take a look at this, because the single lineup sim here right now on FanDuel, that's where I've got this pulled up for. I look at this. Blake Snell, he is pulling 36% ownership. Paul Skenes, 35.5% ownership. I think we can rightfully say Blake Snell at 8,800 is a broken price tag for FanDuel. 10-6, there's a little bit more disparity. That's why you see basically equal ownership. You can roll out as much of them, and I don't think it's an issue. But I will say this. Your boy, my boy today, Ryan Pepio, third most ownership. Are we still on board with that, or is there anybody else who would want to roll out taking a shot on here pitching?
Yeah, I mean, third most ownership on a slate like this is kind of misleading because it's like there's only 8 pitchers or 10 pitchers, so it's like someone's got to get the love. I'm fine with it. I think that if you're not playing Skenes and Snell, you're so different anyways that I'm not worried about ownership there. Yeah, I think he's wildly in play. Snell is, obviously really cheap there, so you're not getting the price discount, but you're getting an even bigger ownership discount. And I don't know, it's not like Snell is impervious to not just getting hit, but putting guys on base, getting quick hooks. I would say Pepio beats Snell, honestly, 4.5 times out of 10 here. Snell's got the slight advantage. That's it.
I mean, we've got a pretty big gap between the two, but the big thing for me, $400 difference. Okay. And then you're chopping 30%. I mean, that's
so maybe 3.5 out of 10. 3.5, 4 out of 10.
That's more fair there. But yeah, Ryan Pepio is one of those guys who still has a ceiling with the lineup that Cleveland rolled out. And it is wild to see this kind of ownership on there's still enough games on a 5-game slate. You'd think you wouldn't have over 70% total ownership going towards 2 pitchers on FanDuel, but we do. And the Blake Snell price tag is one of the main reasons for it, even for a guy who hasn't routinely been a 6-inning giving you death type pitcher over the course of the last 2-3 years. But anything else for pitching? You want to move on to stacks here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. As we pull that up here, one more time for the people, as we're taking a look at it, it is NFL. We've got NFL Live Before Lock coming up. That is Lofty. That is Greg coming to you 7:15 Eastern, 4:15 Pacific, breaking down all the nuance, all the ins and outs of the Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys. We've got amazing showdown tools here for you, and you can take advantage of them for $1. $1 down at the video description box below. All you use is promo code OPENER. Now, you will also get Friday's game. That is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's going to be amazing times. And, well, You can have amazing times building out lineups here at Stokastic while you're at it. Take advantage of it now, friends. It's just too good of an offer. $1 to be able to check out all we got there. And hey, if you already know that this is something you're interested in, being involved in for the long term, take advantage of this as well. This deal goes till Monday, 30% off using promo code football. So take advantage of that one here as well. And to round it all out, put a bow on it, that is the 10% off the yearly all access package using code BIRD. So one more time, opener, football, BIRD. I feel like I'm like doing a spy novel, but overall, it is really good times, friends, to be able to take advantage of all of the goodness that we've got going on here at Stokastic. Now, we got a little bit of an update here, so I'm going to actually refresh. And while I do, and I run one more sim for the people, I want you to tell me, Matt, one lineup to rule them all, one lineup to find them. Who is your single entry team du jour on this 5-game slate on DraftKings?
It's a great question. I don't have like such a strong take where I feel, again, that strongly about it. But as of now, again, really tough. I'm going to go with Kansas City. Hendricks is just that bad. I know they're going to be owned, not quite as owned as the Yankees, but I like Kansas City here. I think you can use them 1 through 9. Hendricks isn't good. The Angels bullpen isn't good. Again, I like Minnesota. I like the Yankees. I like some Houston. So I don't think that Kansas City is like, oh my God, I have to stack them. But if you ask me who I think is the team most likely to score the most runs tonight, it's Kansas City.
It sounds like you have a hot mic, so be careful of that. The fan, the deadly fan that'll
always
pop up.
The damn fan.
It'll get you. It'll get you, my friend. You got the fan rocking. It's nice and cool there for Matt. That's very important to all of us. That's for sure.
It was on the lowest setting too, but I turned it off.
You know what? Sometimes it's not the stuff that, you know, we're going to pick up on from time to time. But yeah, definitely heard it once it was brought up to me, but not a big deal whatsoever. We got 12 minutes. We'll be just fine here. But pulling up our exposures here on that run that I just put together now, birds of a feather now, our 5-man exposure is really skewed towards the Minnesota Twins going up against this Allard to Cannon combination. I mean, Jonathan Cannon, he got sent down to AAA. He's been in Charlotte just hanging out, having a cup of coffee because he was abysmal this year. 1.46 whip, 5.34 ERA. Those are your surface numbers, but it gets somehow exponentially worse when you look underneath it. Now, Allard is actually good. He's got a 35% K rate. Good is relative. He's good for the White Sox to pitch an inning, but then it turns into Cannon, and Cannon has been brutality. When you look at some of the underlying numbers, you've got a 4.96 xFIP, 4.73 Sierra. I mean, just, can't get much worse. And you get a Twins lineup every single time out. They're going to give you their best. And right now, as it stands, I think I'm all right rolling them out as my highest owned lineup. Keishel leading off, no Byron Buxton, allows for you to play all of the Skenes, all of the Blake Snell. I don't know. I feel like them and the White Sox, that game environment, I mean, these have been 8.5, 9 totals. I've been on the over the first 2. I'm not going to play it today, but I will be cheering for it because I absolutely love these stacks for DFS purposes. What say you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm in on the Twins. Cannon stinks. White Sox bullpen stinks. Yeah, I like the Twins. They're right up there. I mean, they look really good here for sure. And ownership is lower. So could easily make the case that they're the top stack because of that. I don't think they're in quite as good a spot as Kansas City, but Kansas City always lets down. I mean, so does Minnesota, to be frank. So 2 teams that regularly let down the DFS masses. So will it be different tonight? Probably not, but they're the 2 teams that are in the best spots on paper. Is interesting that as much as we talked about Javier being a good arm, he has his warts, and the Yankees are pretty clearly the top stack in the tools.
Yeah, the Yankees just look ridiculous today. And Christian Javier, I mean, it's not even just Christian Javier to some extent. It's just how ridiculous this lineup is for the Yankees when they're healthy. I mean, the numbers that they have and giving them a short porch, like they're used to short porches, but like we're talking an indoor left box that is just jutting out begging to be hit into every single day by all of these righties and Oppo Taco lefties. I mean, it's just been nuts watching the Yankees here in Houston pull balls and just going bye-bye immediately. I mean, you play to your ballpark and, well, they're playing to Houston's ballpark here, that's for sure. And then these lefties are getting involved and absolutely pulling the baseball. And it's a tougher ballpark to be hitting it out there. But, you know, whether it's Grisham, whether it's Ben Rice, whether it's Cody Bellinger, who we went yarded yesterday, Austin Wells. I mean, this is just a very tough spot for Christian Javier and pretty much any pitcher going forward as long as the Yankees stay healthy. He has a 164 expected ISO against lefties, just a 19.4% K rate. And the Yankees, outside of Stanton Judge, which we all know, they're confirmed pretty good. They don't have another righty until you get to Volpe at the very bottom of this lineup. So how do you feel about the Yankees? How would you kind of go about constructing this lineup for tournaments today?
So I personally wish there was more like expensive pitching, because even with Snell and Skenes, you can still basically get to a lot of the Yankees. You can't stack them like 1 through 5, but you can get to most of the good ones because there's cheap bats elsewhere. So they're going to get ownership, but because they are expensive, it won't be as much as it could be. You know, personally, because they're going to be the highest owned stack on the board on a small slate like this, and I'm fine doing this on big slates too, but I'd be wanting to use 1 through 9 there. Get a little bit different. Do like 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, something weird like that. I'd want exposure to the entire lineup if I'm stacking the Yankees. Whereas a team like Houston, certainly you can use the bottom guys. They'll be even lower owned, but the top guys are going to be low owned enough where I don't even think you have to do that.
Let's take a look at some of these individual hitters that are showing up here too, because I thought there was one guy that was a little bit fascinating to talk about earlier. I mean, the Minnesota White Sox game just showing up ad nauseum in the Sims. So there is definitely that. But then you've got the Angels, Mike Trout back in the lineup, Joe Adell, who's just going ballistic in Kauffman. I bet he would just, like to put on a Kansas City uniform and just stay there at this point. Man of course he starts doing this after I sell my dynasty team. Like Joe Adell, 4 years, basically just begging you to stick around. And, every time he'd get called up, strike out at a 40% clip. Nice to see him hit and just absolutely rake here in an Angels uniform now. But how do you feel about that game? Because, as I said before, looking at some of the individual hitters, if they're not White Sox, if they're not, this one's pretty wild too. Nick Gonzalez, even in some of those lineups, just because 2,600 does open up quite a bit for them. But the other one that just ends up showing up ad nauseum, the Los Angeles Angels, a very popular stack here for the Sims. Kansas City, a very popular stack for the Sims. Are those two teams appealing to you whatsoever?
Yeah, so you said Kansas City.
Kansas City and then the Angels as well, I think. 8 and 12%. I mean, it's basically just two game environments getting jammed by the Sims in the top 150.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, especially with KC. Like, they're facing Kyle Hendricks. They're cheap, and they always project well. So I think they're going to be, right there with the Yankees as the highest owned team, especially the top of their lineup. They're affordable outside of Witt. There's a lot to like about them. I'm kind of liking your Minnesota call, maybe more than them because of the ownership. And I think the Angels are going to have significantly lower ownership than KC also. Trout back tonight. I know he's not having a great year, but still, we know the upside's real with him. He's 4K. Give me Mike Trout at 4K. I don't even care. So, yeah, I like both sides of this game for sure. I think both sides are definitely in play.
Batting second, too. Hasn't he been batting like third all year? So it's like a very small thing to point out, but a lineup upgrade to the 2-hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been 3-hole DHing basically ad nauseum. And then yesterday, still out. Yep, this is the first time he's been in the 2-hole in absolutely forever. So wanted to point that out too, because sometimes, Mike Trout, that was kind of the analytics thing. I think the Angels, to give them a small bit of credit because they just deserve no other credit, you put your main guy in the 2-hole, and I think Mike Trout was kind of the impetus of that, where before it was like playing guys in the 3-hole, 4-hole, and then it's like, nah, he gets that little fractional more of an at-bat, especially for a guy like Mike Trout who can steal bags, do other things. You just kind of want to have him there. So the Angels, they did that a long time ago. when I was a wee lad and made it work. What about a low-owned Dodgers team? I was talking about it leverage. If you had to pull the trigger on Pittsburgh or LA, who are you more inclined to do it with? I'm not doing it in 40 lineups, but Einsteinium is asking, how did the Dodgers look to you?
Dodgers are always going to look good when they're low owned, which they are tonight. Skenes is good enough though, where like it's hard for a full stack to get there against Skenes because he's just that good. Now it's a small slate. Maybe Skenes doesn't have his best stuff and they get to him a little bit and then they get to the bullpen. That's plausible. Certainly much more interested in stacking the Dodgers than Pittsburgh. Blake Snell, like he's a guy that he's usually going to just beat himself as opposed to giving up a ton of bombs. I don't really see it in this spot. Skenes isn't giving up a ton of bombs either, but the Dodgers, just like I said, Skenes is that good. The Dodgers are good enough where if Skenes doesn't have his best stuff, they can destroy him because they can do that to anyone. I'm not betting on it, but they have the highest upside on any slate they're on, given the hitters that are in their lineup, and nothing is different with that tonight.
Only thing to really talk about the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel. FanDuel, it is so much easier to get to the Yankees. The Yankees are going to be a little bit more popular there because you're only playing an $8,800 Blake Snell, and you only have to play 4 Yankees bats as opposed to 5. They're pretty expensive overall, but we have 17% ownership share over on DraftKings going towards the Yankees. On FanDuel, it's 21.5% ownership share. So on the FanDuel, on the blue site, be a little bit careful because they are going to be more popular, but they probably should be with Aaron Judge being a little bit more accessible. Just wanted to point that out for the people. Not a lot of major differences. So let's order these for the people. My favorite 3 stacks, Minnesota probably goes in the 1 hole. LA, the Angels, goes in the 2 hole. White Sox, 3 hole. What say you, Matt?
I'm going to say in my 1 hole, still going to say Kansas City, especially because in my 2 hole is Houston. I didn't really talk about them. I think they're really low owned, and I like them against lefties, and they've got a ton of upside. Alvarez back, et cetera, et cetera. And then 3, I'm going to say Minnesota. I like Minnesota a lot, although, again, there are, I think you can throw the Angels in that mix too as the top 4 for me pretty clearly.
It's Dong of the Day time, friends. We've got Dong of the Day. Emacs in the chat. He would rather sing it than me. Dong of the Day. There you go. That was my abbreviated version, knowing that we've got a minute left of our program. We'll turn it on over to NFL Live Before Lock, starting up in 35 minutes. Check out Greg and Lofty. I bet you will. We've all got showdown lineups to build. And once again, $1. $1 gets you access to it. 30% off for the monthly package for football and 10% off using code BIRD for the full yearly all access package. Good stuff. But $1 for the opener. If you guys are looking to take advantage of those sims right now, play around with them a little bit before that show starts. You can get acquainted with the tools. Should be very easy. It is insanely easy to be able to use these. That's for sure. But the people need to know, Matt, who is going yard in your lineups tonight?
Give me Mike Trout.
Oh, look at you. Look at you, you silly rabbit. All right. You're going to go Mike Trout. I like Giancarlo Stanton against Christian Javier. That one was really, really popping for me today. But you know what? I'm going to stay with the Angels theme. Joe Adell. I bet him. I love him for DFS. He's in my single entry lineup. We've got tons of Angels in the outfield. That's ironic. That's ironic. I love that movie. But we've got that one going. Just to read a couple of the comments for the people. Adam Frazier, good Lord. Teoscar Hernandez. We're getting Teoscar Hernandez. There's that. Jake DeWitt. I love the Lennon Sosa call. Can he also hit a single for me? That's a real thing that I'm asking for. It's called gambling. We love it. Mikael Garcia, Aaron Hines, Colson Montgomery Dong. That is from Barnaby O'Toole. You're not a tool. We love you. Extra QT. Dell makes me very, very happy. Chris Taylor, CT3 double dong. Oh my Lord, if Chris Taylor goes yard, I will actually cry myself a river because Chris Taylor, I can't click on no matter what I do. Talk, foot, BM ball. I don't know what we're talking about. No, that's what they'll be doing here very, very shortly. But Matt, we're going to get ourselves the heck up out of here. He's at Fantasy Tips. Matt, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, that's all I got, man. Always a pleasure. And we'll do it again soon.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Bart Scott. Wonder what he's up to. At Eric Lindquist, that's where you can find me. Going to have tons of NFL, tons of MLB, tons of Tails coverage as well. Head to tails.bet. Head to the expert picks page. Check out some goodies for the NFL. Not my goodies. Oh, my goodies, but they're your goodies. We got Matt. I'm Eric. I'm going to hit the end stream button now. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Check out NFL Showdown live before a lot coming up next.